Everybody, welcome. I'm Stephen Lackey here for the Palooza Pavilion event, and the session is Help My CEO is a Marketer. And we're going to be talking about the complex relationship between me, a marketing leader, and our CEO at SmartBug Media. We'll talk all about this. We've got 20 minutes today. We're going to go from 12:30 Eastern Time to 12:50 Eastern Time. And what is in store today? We have 8 strategies and a couple minutes for Q&A. So let's first off start to unpack with who am I and who are we? So this is a picture of Jen Spencer and myself. She is SmartBug's CEO. So you can see in this picture, I am not the CEO. That's Jen. And there's a guy in the background who's also not the CEO. That's a gaffer. But I figured I would make sure that we included that in there. So our relationship is I have a background in marketing as well as sales from manufacturing, from energy and utilities. I also work for some Fortune 500 companies and some startup and some bootstrapping companies. So I've got a range over there. And while Jen has a range in doing marketing for theaters, she's also been SmartBug's head of marketing, head of sales. She worked at Allbound previously. And then now after leaving the role of a head of sales and marketing at SmartBug, she took on the role of the CEO. So the relationship that we have is really unique between the two. Heads up, I got a request to speak. All right. Yes, do we have someone with a question to start off with?
That might have been a misclick on someone's.
That's okay. No problem.
We'll
No
have time
problem.
to
All
handle
right.
questions later, though.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and dive in. This relationship between the CEO and the head of marketing. The role here is Jen has this 3,000 foot elevation. She is flying high with a jet just going so high, understanding where we are going, where the market's going 6 months out, 12 months out. She's understanding the relationships of how much capital costs, how much equity costs. She's also understanding the relationships with really deep leaders within our the companies that we support, HubSpot, Klaviyo, even Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce. So she's really understanding those deep relationships. She's also understanding all the sales, all the client success, all the factors that go into running an organization. So I am one segment of that. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of riding this middle range where sometimes I'll pop up to that 30,000 feet. Sometimes I'll go down to the 1,000 foot elevation that the marketing team is executing against. But I'm often bridging, and you would too, if your CEO is a marketer, that kind of spread where it's where do we need to go? And then what do we need to do to execute against that? So when I'm looking at my role and how I can make her successful, I'm in this 2 to 8 month range where she's seeing things that are really starting to percolate far out. And then once they start to get a little bit more maturity is when I start to get involved, understanding where we need to go, what we need to build, and what we need to do. And then I'm translating that and working with the marketing team to actually execute it. So we're really bridging this visionary, this strategy with the operational excellence and execution that the team is generating themselves. So if it's that we're going to go and create a HubSpot to NetSuite or HubSpot to SAP or HubSpot with HIPAA, all of those long-term strategies, it's like, okay, now we know we have that. How are we going to execute against it? And that's that 2 to 8 month range. And then from the marketing's perspective, the team, they're over here doing the things. They're making it work. They're coming up with the strategies, the project briefs. They're creating the campaigns. They're reporting them. And then they're rolling up to me, and I'm rolling up to her as an aggregate. So when you have this relationship between the CEO and the marketing leader, it's my job is to funnel information to her that is helpful and useful for her to create better strategies for the organization. The second strategy here is one where I think we all know this, but sometimes marketers mess this up. They try to make metrics look good for themselves, and that is a mistake. The metrics that you should be doing are metrics that you're going to be reporting against in 2 months, in 6 months, and in 12 months. You need to be consistent. I might think I'm the best marketer in the whole wide world. I'm not. But I may think that at times. And if I say, here's the data, Jen, that I want you to report up to the board on, and then I change it 2 or 3 months later, that is not going to work over well, because it's going to put her in a position, just like you'll put you in a position with your CEO, that's going to have them try to justify to the board or explain something to the rest of the board of, hey, why are we switching? Why are we switching? And when you switch your metrics on a regular cadence, it creates a lack of trust. So what we do is Jen and I encourage you to do this the same with your CEO, is say, hey, here's where we're going to report against. Let me say that one more time. Here is what we are going to report against. Are you good with that? Yes, yes, great. That is our piece of data. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to make sure that what she's reporting it is consistent. I always want her to compare apples to apples. And if we do make changes, like an example is we changed the qualifications of an SQL. I didn't change that on March the 19th. That's a terrible time to change it because you got poor quarterly metric reporting. We're going to change it at very succinct and specific intervals that give plenty of lead time, plenty of heads up time, and then she's going to be able to have that information be comfortable when she's presenting to the rest of the board about why we're changing and why some of our numbers are a little different. No surprises. I never want to bamboozle her, and you shouldn't either. The next strategy here is lean on for expert advice. When we are in a position of having a CEO as a marketer, they've been through things that we haven't been through. I have experiences that Jen doesn't have, sure, but she's got a lot of experience that I haven't had either. And she's got experiences of watching either other companies do things. She may have heard something from a CEO dinner. She may have met somebody at a networking event and they told her a non-success story. So when I'm going and I'm creating plans, and I encourage you to do this as well for part of your strategies, is, hey, here's what I'm thinking. And then it's like, you got any wisdom here? They love, Jen and all CEOs love to be a source of knowledge because they truly are. They want to provide value to the rest of the organization. Why? So that they're successful. It makes like total sense. It's like, hey, I'm looking at doing this. And then she may say, and it happened probably 9 out of 10 times, hey, also consider XYZ. Also, you may want to look at it from this perspective. Or don't forget about this audience member, or we're trying to get this relationship stronger. So when I'm going and working with Jen for our one-on-ones, our revenue leadership meetings, it's, hey, here's what we're looking to do. I want to make sure that I get your insight as well. And every time I've done that, I'm batting 1,000%. 1,000% for every time I've taken her piece of advice, it's become a better product at the end of the day. And I would highly encourage the continuous learning and adoption of what they have and what they bring to the table. So I'm not working in a silo. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. But one of the big things that you can do is say, hey, here's where we're at. What am I blind to? I ask that probably once a month to Jen. What do I not see that you see about myself, about my team, about the work, about the market, about our sales, about our client success, about this, about that, our partners, whatever it is. There is so much that she sees that I don't, because I'm going down oftentimes while I'm also going up. But she sees, oh, you need to go chat with this person over here, or you need to go loop in this person over here, or this group over here, because they're going to give you more information to make your final product better. Oftentimes, we're taking a piece that we do, a campaign, and we give it significant more legs, and we give it a significant more evergreenness to it when we create it in a broader spectrum. I'm not saying, hey, I need approval on this. I need to, can you sign off on, there are some things, yes, press releases, of course. Big campaigns, sure. I'm going to check in with her at different milestones. Absolutely, because she's a marketer, so she's got it. But what I want to make sure that I really do is I don't miss things that I'm blind to. Another strategy here, and we talked about this just a few minutes ago, speak to the board's language. My role, and I would encourage you to do this the same thing, is make her life easier. I'm always trying to say, Jen, how can I save her time? So if I'm going to report something to her and then she's got to spend an hour and a half to translate it or to massage data or blend in this data or blend in that data to go present to the board, that was a failure on my part. It is my role to go meet with my peers, and it's your role to go meet with your peers as well to say, hey, here is this data that you can take and you can report on immediately. It includes all of our partners, all of my peers. It also includes the why behind the data. Whenever I send something to her that she is going to be presenting to the board, it is, here's your data. Here's your 2 sentence that you need to go be able to explain about the data. And then here's all the background information as well. Half the time that background information never gets used. It doesn't. They go in a different conversation about the cost of equity, or they go in a different conversation about deal velocity, or they go in different conversations. But in the times that they go into a conversation, your CEO and your board is the exact same way, they are going to say, oh, hey, can we do a double click? There you go. We're going to do a double click into this. I want to talk a bit more about it. And if I can, and you can as well, arm your CEO with the information that is that double click, that the board, she becomes more prepared, more informed. They can have great conversations. They don't have to push it off to a following month meeting. So how am I highlighting what we're doing and then also providing her the additional narrative? And that additional narrative is often good, bad, and ugly. Like, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, here's our gaps, here's the reporting, here's how much we spent, here's all this data, but it's all underneath. There's top metrics, your 1 to 2 sentences that she needs to know for quick rattle off, and then here's your synthesized and very bulletized pieces of information that they can use as a board as well. All right, negotiate priorities. I work for an agency. Agencies go fast. A lot of organizations too. I've worked a lot of clients that are big companies, and they move fast. Your CEO, just like Jen, has a lot on her plate. It is not just as simple as air traffic control. That is not it. She's trying to weigh out, and your CEO is as well. Half the time is to say no to things. What are we going to say no to? There's so many shiny objects. And it's, hey, I want this done by this date. Okay, I want this done by this date. An offhand comment in a conversation, just like a little side note. Make sure that we do this. Make sure we do that. Hey, I want to make sure. Like, that is really common. Like, it's not in a bad way, and I'm going to say it kind of tongue in cheek, is her job is to put the monkey on my back to go figure things out. That is what I signed up for. That is what she passes over to me. But there's going to be times when she forgets all the things that we have on our plate. Because there are times when we have what we're doing for our blocking and tackling and our operations and things we've agreed to for our strategic plan, or things back in December that we're doing now in August that we want to make sure we complete by the end of 2024. That is common. And it's also common when she's like, hey, Steven, we need to get this moving ASAP. And it's like, sure, no problem. With the resources we have, here are our options. We can either prioritize this or prioritize this. We can hire outside if we need to. We don't, because we have the team to do it. But we can pull resources and move things around. But there are often times when it's, hey, we're going to get moving on this initiative. She's like, actually, this one here, let's reprioritize that. So we negotiate, and that's okay. Because what we're negotiating for is what's coming next, what's going to have the biggest impact. And sometimes it's top down, sometimes it's bottom up. And it's a true conversation. It's not I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. That is never the conversation we're going to have, or you're going to be having with your CEO. It's, hey, here's how much time, here's how much cost, time being like employees' time or capital, if you will. And then the cost, whether it's a campaign or whether it's paid ads or whether it's ABM or whatever it may be, she may say, hey, we need to reprioritize on this thing over here that was never part of the conversation when the first thing got started. So always be okay with having this negotiation. And one of the things we do when we negotiate is we recalibrate deliverable dates. She has an expectation. Hey, this is going to be due by this date so we can keep moving for the organization. No problem. That is what we're here for. But if we're going to put in too much stuff, then we're going to have a weak product, and that is not good for anybody. So what we'll do is we'll say, hey, we're going to shift this date back. We're going to pull this date up. It's just like a sales and a deal waterfall. You push and pull. That's negotiation. That's okay. Another tip, let data and intuition drive. I was on a call one time when somebody, this was not with Jen and me, this was another conversation. Somebody was like, I think this will work. They were like, maybe it'll work. Terrible, 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 terrible. Don't do that. There is very little strategy in guessing. Like hope is a terrible strategy, is the phrase, right? So when you set up stuff, we do a lot of A/B testing, multivariable testing, but we're also going to learn from what we previously ran. We're going to learn, how did these paid ad campaigns run? How did this specific niche campaign run? Whatever it may be. So instead of saying, I think it'll work, not a good thing. Say phrases like, we're planning to embark on this campaign based on the goals you have set as an organization or as a team, typically time duration of, hey, we're trying to get a certain number of leads or certain number of MQLs, SQLs, opportunities, at bats by a certain date, like the end of the quarter. And we're going to use historical information about these campaigns over here to have a better campaign going forward. And we're projecting to see this as a return. So whenever we go to a conference, we're like, hey, we're projecting to spend this much at a conference, and we're expecting to have this much as a return. Hey, we're looking to launch this product here. We're going to invest this amount in a paid ad campaign, and we're going to bring it back. And we think this is what it can be our results on. Always go in with data. Staying ahead on marketing trends. Shiny object syndrome. She sees a tremendous amount that flows through, and your CEO does as well, on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. People pitching her all the time about new trends. And one of the things we have to do very carefully is majority is say no. We could say yes to everything. Sure. We just don't have time, capacity, or resources. So we need to stay ahead on the trends and make educated guesses on which trends are going to be the right ones that are going to stick around. And those are the ones we're going to double down and invest on. Like generative AI, of course, generative search optimization, how we rank for ourselves and how we rank for our clients on ChatGPT and these other ChatSpot and other AI tools. So we need to make sure we stay ahead, and then we need to inform her on good, bad, and ugly within each one of these trends, and then when we actually anticipate it to come to life. Plant seeds and not and then execute. I love, and a lot of people love, being a superhero. Hey, Jen, surprised you. Here's all this boatload of leads. That doesn't work well. It doesn't. It's like, hey, we're going to do this campaign, and then we're going to run this, and this is what we're projecting to be as our outcome, so that she can ensure that she's got the sales team, client success, rev ops, all those folks on board as well. Because if I say, here you go, a boatload of leads just dropped in from a surprise campaign, they can't execute against that. And that is a misstep on the marketer's behalf. So I am informing her regularly. Hey, want to make sure you're good with this. Cool. Yes, great. Keep going. Awesome. And here's when we're anticipating it to hit, so that she can align the rest of her and my peers for the work that we deliver and the marketing team. All right. So that was a quick 18 minutes. We got a couple minutes for Q&A, and I'm happy to stay around and answer some more questions. Feel free, if you'd like, to drop anything in the chat or hop on screen with me. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Check out our Why Smart Bug page. I'll be here. Shoot me an email, shoot me a note. Would love to engage with any of you. You got it, Tom, Sarah, no problem, guys. Have a fantastic afternoon. See you guys.